Many settings in QuikStor e-commerce can be configured within the main QuikStor window. First, let's go to the QuikStor icon, then Internet Setup. Here we'll find an e-commerce tab. For e-commerce, there are 4 individual sections that can be configured: General, Custom Fields, Reservation Options, and Other Options. I'll briefly cover the options that are available. Under General, the first option is to allow payment 1 week before advertising. Depending on your state's delinquency laws, you may want to check or uncheck this button. Unchecking it prevents the tenant from making payments 1 week before advertising. Allow rent a unit. This allows you to decide whether or not tenants or potential tenants should be able to rent a unit from your website. Edit tenant information. This drop-down box allows you to select between 3 options. The first is to disable tenants from being able to edit their information. So anytime a tenant logs in, they can view the contact information you have on file, but they cannot change it. Enabled means that the tenant can change their name, address, or any other field anytime that they log in. The tenant information cannot be changed for any tenant if the unit is delinquent. So even if the Edit Tenant Information button is enabled, if the unit is delinquent, the tenant cannot change the information until they have made a payment. The third option is enabled only for blank fields. This means if the tenant's email address field, for example, is not filled in, they can add that information, but they can't change any information like their address for which the field has already been populated. The homepage URL should be the HTTP address for your main web page. With the e-commerce setup, QuikStor would have provided links for your e-commerce, but your main web page needs to link to those, and then conversely, QuikStor e-commerce should be able to link back to your main web page. Make sure when entering your web address that you do include http://www and then your domain name. There are some other options available. E-commerce force prorate on move-in. Forces prorate for all move-ins regardless of the day they move in. This option and the second option have to be decided between. You can't have both selected. The second option is to force prorate on move-in plus 1 month's rent after a certain day. So for example, with this setting, after day 15, a tenant will be forced to pay the prorate. So for example, if they're moving in on the 16th online, they're going to pay the prorate for the 16th through the last day of the month, and then the system will add on an additional month to that. So those are 2 options you can select regarding how tenants move in online. The next option is when showing available units for rental. Only show 6 unit types. Some facilities have a multitude of unit types, and this would only show 6. Leaving it unchecked shows all available unit types. The last option in this section is to display online transaction notification pop-ups. These are pop-ups that occur within your QuikStor software. On the lower right hand side, when a tenant makes a payment or does a rental or reservation, a pop-up in your QuikStor software appears letting you know that that's happened. The last thing on this page is to configure available credit card types for tenants to pay online. This affects the drop-down of what they'll be able to choose. You can unselect any card types that you don't accept, including American Express, Discover. Most facilities will be accepting MasterCard and Visa, but you do have the option to uncheck those if you desire. The next area is custom fields. The page messages section can be configured with HTML, which is what has been done here, to add in images or coupons, coupon codes, or even text if you like, to each of the pages: the main default page, the rent page, and the receipt page. In this area, you can also choose which fields to display. You can unselect or select height, floor, location, and door type for each of the units. This affects how they display in the rent and reservation tabs on the e-commerce site. The third tab is for reservation options. You have the option to enable or disable reservations online. With the button checked for enable reservations online, the reservation option is enabled. You can also set the default number of days to hold the reservation here. You have the option to do a $0 reservation, apply a discount by a percentage, and also round the reservation to the nearest dollar or $5. You also have the option to allow reservations by charging security deposit only. The final tab is Other Options. Here you have the option. These are for tenants to be able to set themselves to go paperless, which is where their invoices are emailed only and not mailed out, and also the option to allow tenants to set themselves up for auto billing. If a tenant should be allowed to set themselves up for auto billing, you would check the button here, and if not, you would uncheck it. The Allow Auto Billing button is important. Some states require that a signature be obtained for tenants to set themselves up for auto billing. In that case, you would want to uncheck this box. If it's okay for your tenants to go ahead and set themselves up, you would want to check it. And then when they make a payment online, they'll be asked if they want to use this card for auto billing. The Contact Us email is the email address that will appear on the upper right hand side of your QuikStor e-commerce page. It can be set to any email address and does not have to be set up to the email in your site setup settings. This concludes the video on the basic overview of configuring e-commerce settings.